Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new podcast of the Optimised Self Podcast with me. Today, I'm interviewing a special guest, someone I think I've been following, or we've been following each other for over 2 years on social media. His name is Dave van Vliet. He's also from the Netherlands, but now he's actually living in Colombia. Dave was a peak performance coach like myself. Recently, he switched to helping other coaches in finding clients. I'm very curious about his transformation. That's what we'll find out today. We'll also talk about the latest performance hacks he's been doing because, of course, he's still a peak performer. Dave, maybe you could give a short introduction of yourself. Maybe I've already told everything, but yeah, man, curious about you.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, man. So my name is Dave van Vliet. I'm originally from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and I currently live in Colombia, Medellin. I've made the move about a year ago to move here, to pursue my dreams, to learn Spanish, to find beautiful women as well, of course. And right now I help people to build their business, especially in Holland. So I help them get their first few clients in coaching, as I did 4 years ago.
Awesome, man. Yeah, because maybe we can first go into Colombia. I think I spoke to you, or we were having conversations over Facebook Messenger, and you basically said that, hey, I'm still living at home and I sometimes struggle with the vision I have and the vision the people around me have. Yeah, what was the point where you were like, fuck it, I'm just booking a plane ticket and I'm moving to Colombia?
So I live by intuition. It was really an intuitional thing. Like I just book a one-way ticket and I'll see what happens. Make the move first and then I go. But really the biggest thing that I wanted to do also was kind of be alone. Because in business, you want to kind of be alone. This may sound super weird, but you want to be alone. You want to have your own mind, and you don't want to have anybody, getting into that mind and telling you your ideas are bad. So this was also another reason. I just wanted to have a time alone, basically.
Yeah. No, but I don't think it's weird. I think also for the people listening here is if you try to do something that's completely different from what your environment is telling you to do, the easiest way is to just move somewhere else. Right? Because there's no one telling you, oh yeah, you should get a job or you should do this. And it doesn't matter what they're telling you, but if they're not in line with what your vision is, then I was telling this to a client of mine. It's like you're swimming upstream. Like, sure, you can do it, but it takes so much more effort than just swim downstream. Right? Yeah. And how was that first few months of moving to Colombia? Because I know Colombia, I'm traveling to Colombia in about a month, but I know it's a completely different from the Netherlands, right?
Yeah. So I don't speak Spanish. When I came here, I thought I spoke a little bit because of Duolingo. It's like I'll come here, speak Spanish. Didn't work like that. But everything was super smooth. I believe if you're on your purpose or on your mission and you do the things that your intuition tells you, everything will be smooth. So I came on the plane, KLM. I was sitting on the plane. I was super calm. I was like, let's go. I'm excited. Everything was super smooth. First 3 months, I just booked an Airbnb, stayed in the Airbnb, moved from Airbnb to Airbnb. Eventually, you start to meet people, you start to network, and you start to find a place where you feel at home. And the most important thing I can say is if you're going to move out to Medellin or another country or another city, is find people, because community makes you feel at home. Like I'm saying here to stay alone. Doesn't mean I'm going to stay alone. I already met some people before on Facebook and Instagram before I came here. And I started to speak with the local people and meet people here. So yeah, super smooth, man. I'm very happy here.
Yeah, man. Because I've been seeing on your Facebook that you guys have these Wim Hof meetups where you go into the ice tub, you do Wim Hof breathing. Can you tell me how that's like? That it seems amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like attracts like. I found some guys who are into ice bathing and Wim Hof breathing. So what we do, we just get together, we do some Wim Hof breathing, we go into the sauna, we do ice bathing. It takes about 1.5 hours, but at the end of the night, everybody's like super high on life and everybody's super authentic. And you have good conversations. And this also is because I think that people at the top, so to say, they go to places like Medellin, to Dubai. So, people go there and they already love Wim Hof. It's not weird here to talk about meditation or to talk about visualization. Super normal because everybody loves this stuff here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's the most important thing, that the things you value, they become normal with the people around you, and that's when you really feel at home and you really feel like, oh, this is actually what I should be doing. Yeah, man. Yeah. So you were doing, I can call it peak performance coaching as well, just like me. What made you switch? What do you do now, and what made you switch into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I started with intermittent fasting coaching because I just wanted to earn money. I'm gonna be completely honest, I came into coaching for the money, but
Yeah,
eventually you need to have some sort of passion, right? You need something that you live for. So I was like, okay, I'm good at personal development, I'm good at staying productive, I'm good at habits. So I thought I'd make just a move to high performance productivity coaching, and especially ice bathing. Ice bathing just makes me a super performer. If I'm tired, I get in the ice. If I wake up, I get in the ice. Like I'm in the ice a lot, and it makes me feel super good.
yeah, yeah. And what made you switch from doing that to the thing you do now?
Yeah, so this has been quite recent, but I do believe that if you want to have a scalable offer, you do need to think a little bigger. I noticed with the productivity peak performance coaching, it's hard to scale. I have big dreams. I want to make more money, more impact. So I want to go into a market that's more scalable. And to me, that's an online coaching business.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you said you were now focused on Dutch people.
Yeah.
How did that came into fruition?
Yeah, so my logical mindset was like, okay, well, the US and England and English speaking people already have like, a lot of competition. My English is okay, it's not perfect. I feel like I can be more authentic in Dutch. And also, I don't know, man, it was just like an intuition thing again. Living in Colombia, moving kind of the communication back to Holland felt good. But the most important reason was obviously marketing. It's really hard to break to the English market as a quote unquote nobody.
Yeah.
So I'm going for the Dutch market now.
Yeah, yeah, super interesting. And yeah, I think it's a great offer because just like you and me, of course, you earn money with the coaching you do. But I think if I saw your testimonials while you were doing peak performance coaching, it's also really about the purpose. And if you can make people achieve that as well, do something they're really passionate about, that's super interesting. I saw
Yeah.
somewhere on your profile that you were doing AI and ads or something. Maybe you
Yeah.
could elaborate a bit on that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I've been doing the organic grind for years. If somebody who is a coach who knows it, if you're not a coach, it's basically just searching Facebook groups, Instagram. It's very manual. But this is not a business. You don't want to build a business to stay in the business. So advertisement is kind of a way to step out of the business. So that's kind of reasoning that I had. I wish I started with that earlier, actually. And AI is just the future, man. There's not a lot for AI for coaches yet. Sure, you can use ChatGPT, you can use pictures and everything. But the future is going to be AI. Everybody knows it, so I better become prepared.
Yeah, yeah. And in what ways do you use AI for people with a coaching business?
Yeah, so I think everybody uses AI. It's in the algorithms, but sometimes I try to use ChatGPT. I don't use it too much, but it's basically I decide to also work in a niche that I want to learn about. So I got into productivity niche because I want to also learn about it more. Because if you're going to become a coach at it, you need to be good at it. So it's just a preparation for me in the future that I need to stay on my stuff. I don't want to have AI slip by me. So I just take imperfect action. This is what I live by. I just take imperfect action. I just put it in my bio. I start writing posts about it so that I'm like, okay, I need to get my stuff going. And I notice after that, I do that. I buy books on AI. I start listening podcasts about AI. I start doing YouTube videos on AI. So it's also to challenge myself.
Yeah, that's super interesting. What are some things you have recently learned about AI?
So the biggest thing that I learned is that you don't know what you don't know, right? Like we think we have ChatGPT, but there's much bigger things that we don't know. Hopefully, we will get access to it soon. But I can say the biggest thing is that if you want to get into business and you want to think long term, you should get into AI.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it also ties into the Dunning-Kruger effect. Do you know what that is?
No.
Yeah, so it's basically this graph that if you start out with something, you think that you're very confident in it and you think you know everything, which for most people it's like, oh yeah, I know how to use ChatGPT, right? I'm an AI master. And then once you start researching it, you start understanding how complex it is, and then you get into this, they call it the valley of despair, where you're like, fuck, I know I don't know a lot of stuff, and I know that I don't know a lot of stuff. So then you feel the anxiety of like, oh, I need to learn more and more and more. And that's always a fun one to be in. But it's
Yeah.
interesting your take on that. I think for me as well, and you probably had the same with productivity. That at the start, if I look at the knowledge I had 2.5 years ago about performance and what I have now, it almost seems laughable. But by taking the action, you actually find out all those things. Yeah. Yeah, man. How does your day today look like right now? What are some of your routines? How do you stay in peak performance?
Yeah. Great question, man. I mean, I think you can talk a lot about it too, but I wake up at like 4:30 a.m. I do my morning routine, which contains of straight away diving into an ice bath because I want to become awake. I want to do a very hard thing in the first thing of the day. Eat that frog, which means eating a frog, doing something difficult. Then
Yeah.
I do some reading. I do a visualization, meditation, and then I do some work. Either deep work or sometimes I choose to just do deep work, push work. I just try to work for as long as I can. I do gym. I do 75 hard right now. So then after late in the day, I also do a little bit of running or walking. Yeah, it's been pretty nice. And I can talk a lot about it, but I try to just work as much as I can. I think for me, high performance or peak performance is just getting the most out of your day. And for me right now is that just doing a lot of work myself. So I'm just doing a lot of deep work, doing the postings, doing the readings, doing whatever I need to do in coaching to make this work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what are the things you're focused on now?
Right now, I'm just focused on marketing, man. As an online coach, doing the business coaching, I really want to have my marketing nailed down because I've came from a past of like hard closing and hard selling. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. I just want people on the call and they're like, hey, Dave, I like what you do. Let's do this. Sure, there's some objection handling, but I just want to get the marketing down. So doing a lot of marketing research, learning about marketing and posting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a perfect thing. We also notice it at P Club. Is like if you get someone on a call who doesn't even know what you do exactly, they haven't seen your results. It's so much more difficult to actually make that person see how it will change their life. Whereas someone that's coming onto the call and they've already watched 7 hours of your YouTube content, they're going to be like, I need to do this. I think it was the same. I know you've been in coaching with Richard Yu, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I already joined another coaching program before that, but that was similar to his. But I've already watched so much of his content that the moment he started releasing the offer, it was like, yeah, I just need to do it. I think it was the same for you. Or
yes, that's something I started recently implementing too. YouTube, man. YouTube is such an asset. I don't get on YouTube to be famous. I get on YouTube to help people, right? And from there, you can make a lot of money. But yeah, I followed Richard Yu on YouTube. I followed Max Stone on YouTube. All these guys I saw on YouTube, and I don't think YouTube is gonna go everywhere. It's too big to go anywhere. So if any of the online coaches are watching this, get on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. Also, there's this thing which I swear by with marketing, the 7 hour rule, that if someone is going to buy from you, they need to watch at least 7 hours of your content or be on calls or whatever. And YouTube is just a very easy way to make that 7 hour rule a lot shorter. Yeah. That's it's super interesting. If you look at your entrepreneurship journey so far, what has actually been your biggest up?
My biggest up has definitely been a spiritual thing, man. It's been Letting Go by David Hawkins. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't know. But it basically means like getting inside and feeling what you feel. Like business is you versus you. And eventually you're going to notice like, hey, I got some stuff in me that I need to solve. Traumas, fake egos, limiting beliefs. I think those are the biggest shifts. I gotten into business 4 years ago. After 2 years, I came about this method, letting go, and I was like, whoa, this is a life changer, man. So I use it in my program too. It's mandatory for business owners, and I think every business owner will see it eventually, like, dang, I need to get into spirituality.
Yeah, could you tell a little bit more about the letting go method? I personally use it as well. I think the book is somewhere here. Oh yeah, I can see it now, but it's one of the best books I've read, and it just... If you start using the method, it's so simple, but it's so effective in actually changing how you feel about things and how light you feel. But maybe you could expand a little bit about it.
Yeah, of course, man. Actually, I didn't read the book myself. I got into a coaching program by Julian Blanc. Maybe you know him, helps you with spirituality. I actually now am in his team. I teach people letting go with him. But the most important thing is that you just feel what is inside the body. It's very simple. Like for right now, my heart is a bit higher than usual because I'm live, I'm doing a podcast. And if I just feel my heartbeat, like I feel it, like I don't think about it, I feel it in my heart, it's going to kind of calm down and I'm going to accept the feeling that my heart is beating. It sounds super weird, it's super simple, but you just feel what's down in the body. Now you can go very deep into this. You can, for example, trigger yourself from traumas that you had 20 years ago or whenever, and then you re-feel the moment. Because when the moment happens, when you had that childhood trauma or whatever trauma you had, you're probably not thinking about this. You're not like, oh, I'm going to feel. No, you're like, what's going on? I'm stressing out. Let me escape. Let me go to drugs, alcohol, all these things that you don't want to go to. You want to just get into your body, close your eyes, and breathe through it.
Yeah. It's so powerful. Like all the addictions we have is just a way for us not to go into the feeling of not to feel that, hey, maybe we feel shit. Maybe we didn't close that guy, and yeah, we feel shit about it, and it's okay, right? But what society teaches us is like, oh, put away the feeling. You don't have to feel, and that's where all the bad stuff starts to happen. Yeah, it's a super interesting method. You said you're now on the team of the coach you invested in as well. How
Yep.
did that come about? What do you do there?
Yeah, I think I have to thank that to coaching as well, because if you're gonna market yourself on stories and on a post every single day, people are gonna see you. But if you don't do this stuff, they're not gonna find you. So this is just another benefit. Even if you don't want to get into coaching, I just recommend showing your life a little bit. We live in an internet life, so just share what you're doing. Don't be afraid of showing your real self. Don't be a fake you, and just share yourself. And also just being coachable, right? I'm very coachable. If people tell me like, "Hey, I want you to do this, and this is how we should do it," I'm like, "Cool, I'm up for it."
Yeah. What do you do on his team right now? You still are coaching people on the letting go method, or yeah,
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah, so every single year they go to Europe to do a Euro World Tour or just Europe Tour, and they just teach people how to do letting go, make people aware of the letting go method. But I'm more like on the online side of things. So I help people in the Facebook groups. Sometimes I jump on the coaching calls. I just basically make sure the clients are getting results.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, super interesting. Didn't know that about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the recent biohacks or performance hacks you've been incorporating?
So I always test things out. If this works for one, this doesn't mean it works for everybody. But I'm recently doing 2 exercises a day. I noticed that if I exercise more, my productivity is higher. I started to test out with my diet, eating a little less. I noticed when I'm eating more, I'm just, feeling a little bit fatigued. It's,
Yeah.
it's really just exercise and diet for me nowadays. Kind of fine tuning everything because you don't know what you don't know, but I feel like I got most of the things down, such as sleep, stress levels, relationships, and purpose. All these things I'm doing pretty well. So it's now just fine tuning my diet and exercise and see what works best for me. When do I exercise? What do I eat? And yeah, that kind of stuff. I noticed personally, if anybody wants to have a hack from my end, for me it was just waking up earlier and finding your sleep rhythm. That's just such a big one.
Yeah, it is, man. What are you doing now in terms of diet personalization?
Yeah, so I found myself a Latina here in Colombia, so I just I tell her what I want to eat, and I see how it reacts to my body. Here, food is very different than in Holland, obviously. So I'm also just testing out what kind of works. We're eating a lot of low carb. I'm doing a lot of eggs. I'm doing a lot of fish. I'm doing a lot of meats. I see a lot of guys here out, loving their veganism. I let them be, but I think meat is very important. It gives me energy. But like I said, everybody's different. But I do think proteins are very important, and I try to eat as much protein and as little carbs.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's the same way. What is a typical day of eating for you right now?
Yeah, so usually I fast. The first hours of my day, I always fast, like the first 2, 3 hours of my day. And then I've usually 9, 10 a.m. I start to eat my first meal. Or if I'm in a very good flow, I start to eat until 4 p.m., 5 p.m. at night. Sometimes I just even fast the whole day, depending on my day. I plan in my days and then I just go about how productive or how momentum I got. But yeah, fasting is always part of my routine, absolutely.
Yeah. And then do you eat the same every day, or does it differ?
I try to eat the same every day, but sometimes I go to a restaurant and just check out the menu there. But I always eat healthy. I don't eat food for the taste. I eat food for how I feel because that's much more important to me. And if it then tastes good, that's just a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that most of society puts it the other way, right?
Yeah,
If they like it, they eat it, but they don't really focus on how it makes them feel, or they're not even aware of how it makes them feel. I've had it with a lot of people as well. They stop eating gluten or they stop eating bread, and all of a sudden the fog lifts out of their head, and they're like, "Whoa, I'm just so much clearer in my head. I can do so much more. I never even believed this was possible." So it's also about the standards you already have.
yeah. I was curious about gluten. Like, what exactly is gluten? That's one thing I haven't researched yet.
Yeah, so gluten is an anti-nutrient. It's basically something that makes sure the other nutrients aren't being absorbed as well. And especially with gluten, there have been numerous studies that have shown that even if you are not intolerant to gluten, so even if you can handle it, you don't have an intolerant reaction, you still can have issues with your gut. It can impact your gut lining, and then you can feel worse after that. It is very personal. So, for example, with clients at P Club, we do an intolerance test, like an allergy test, just to find out, hey, what kind of foods work for you as a person, and then we follow the principles as well. But that's the fast way you can actually personalize it. But for most people, if you're eating bread right now, also about the amount of carbs that are in there, just skip bread, eat some eggs, eat some meat, and you will see a massive difference in your focus and your energy levels throughout the day.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, one personal question.
Yeah.
What's your personality like right now, and how has that changed over the years?
So what do you mean by personality?
Yeah, so how you act, how you are with other persons, how
Yeah.
driven you are. Yeah, I think you've made a massive transformation as well. How has that changed over the years?
Yeah, I see. So, I mean, for 5 years ago, I tried to be my best, but I think a lot of the ego stuff kind of took over, and I wasn't always a good person as I am right now. I think right now, much more giving in regards to my money, in regards to my knowledge, because I also feel I have more to give. So I think I'm a much more giving person. Even sometimes like a little smile it could also be giving, but also donating to charity. Like I really try to be as best as I can because I believe what you give is what you get. Personality wise, I'm much more focused on, I would say, relations with others than, for example, like I said, that I came into the coaching for money. Yes, there's good money to be made in coaching, but at the end of the day, what you're doing is building relationship with others. But then I come back to the letting go stuff. Like if you know yourself and you let go of all this stuff, then it's much easier to also relate and connect with others. So yeah, I think I'm much more relatable. I'm much more myself, aka authentic. I'm much more giving. I care more about the people around me. You could say I have more balls. I don't have fear as much as I used many years ago because you give yourself positive reference experience, right? This whole trip to Colombia is amazing because I have I have everything here. I have friends. I speak Spanish now. I have a lot of things here. But the biggest gain that I had from it is it give myself a positive experience that, hey, I can take an airplane to a different country, which is dangerous, and I don't speak the language, and I can make it work out. So yeah, man, I'm much more confident, and I all have to thank this to myself, but also to doing the business. Like getting into business is such an important key point of building all these positive reference experiences and changing your life.
Yeah, yeah. Whoa, that's super interesting, man. And I think, yeah, indeed, it's just about building up the bank account for yourself, about the memories that you can actually do what you said you were going to do, and that you can make it work. Talking about Colombia and where you're living now, what's your vision for the future? Are you planning on staying in Colombia forever? Where do you want to take the business? You said you had big goals of setting up a scalable business. What's your vision for the future?
Yes, absolutely. So Colombia is great. It's not something I want to stay in for the future because of many different reasons. I want to learn Spanish, become fluent, and then leave for a bit, and maybe come back. Medellin is really great, especially for digital nomads. But I'm feeling very attracted to Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and especially because it's much safer, taxes and everything. Obviously, Amsterdam is always going to be in my heart, but I don't trust too much in the whole Western, how it's going and where it's going. So it's gonna be. I think I'm gonna be a nomad, man. I'm gonna be, having a house there, having a house there, kind of like Andrew Tate is moving around the world, man. Because one, I love it. You're meeting a lot of cool people, and you're getting experiences. And two, the West is not as good as it was. There's a lot of brainwashing going on, as we may know, and it's difficult to stay there, especially because once again, I love my family, I love my friends, but they don't always have the best thing in mind because they think what is good for you is not actually good for you. So I try to avoid that. So yeah, I'll just travel around the world a lot.
Yeah, yeah, super interesting. And in terms of business, what is your business for the business? What is the vision you have for your business in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so I want to become a market leader in Holland. So I want to become like a big guy, and then from there I want to, see where I can go with that. But first, I'm just focusing on Holland. I want to help 1,000 people in Holland build their coaching business because if I'm going to help one person in Holland build a coaching business, the people that they are going to help, I mean, this is maybe a bit egoic, but I kind of help them, right? So it's
Yeah,
good karma for me as well. So I want to start with Holland, get a lot of people to get into coaching, just like me, just like you, because it's super important. Well, we can say that getting into coaching has been one of the most life-changing things I've ever done in my life. So I want to
yeah,
show people that it's possible and that they can make money alike and help others. So first Holland, and then we'll see from there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's a perfect thing you said about your vision and your purpose because we at Pickle, we have the same thing. We empower others, other entrepreneurs to perform better, and in that way, they make more impact on the people around them. They start being better to their team. And they start making more impact in the things they are doing. They are more of that. So that's, I think, the most important thing. Yeah. Let's say you have a magic wand and you could change one thing about society right now. What would it be?
Yeah, this may sound very cliche, but I think a lot of men have lost their manlyhood. I would get back a little bit of the manpower, I'd say. because the world is going to a bad place. Even here in Colombia, you see these guys so often. They dress up like women, and I just don't understand it. It's so weird to me. Like I would want to change that, because I also think it's gonna get into the kids, right? I want to have kids. I want to build a big family. I don't want to send them to school because of the things that are happening right now to our kids, so to say. So I would think about the men who are confused about their own sexuality and kind of just give them a little shock, like, hey, this is all just put in your mind. This is not you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. I think that's a very powerful message right now. We are going much more away from the traditional male-female models. And you just look at what kind of societies work and what kind of societies don't work.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you just look at that, just look at it with an open mind, then you see where things are leading. Yeah, man. A final question I always ask all of my guests here, and I think I read on one of your posts, you've invested more than $40,000 or $80,000 into yourself, into your personal development. Who has been your biggest mentor? And what are a few actionable things the listeners can take away from what you've learned from him or her?
Yeah. So I've invested about 80K into business and personal development. So I need to think about that, because there's many different mentors that I invested in many different areas. All I can say is, like, this may sound cliche, but the more you pay a person, the more you're going to learn from him. So the value is not always in what he says, it's the amount you pay him. Like, I'm not against paying 10K for a coaching program, but if you're going to ask somebody in Holland, would you pay 10K to a guy to have you teach you? That would be super weird. But it's kind of like where you're at with your financial situation. Anyways, I think I want to give a shout out to my first ever coach, because he made the biggest impact on me by getting me into coaching. I paid him 3K for me back then. It was a lot of money. And his name is Max Torno, Freedom Business Mentoring. And I really the biggest thing that I got from him is the mindset aspect, taking full responsibility of your life. Nobody's going to do this for you. I'm here to help, but nobody's going to do this for you. And the biggest lesson that I got from him is not only the mindset, but just invest in yourself. He said it so much, like, always the money you make in the business, back into the business, back into yourself. And I did that, and it's coming back a lot. Like, sometimes I'm like, wow, I've only been like 4 years into business, something like that. And I've been up around 60, 70 years into personal development. Like, I can't imagine myself like in 20 years. Like, this is why I kind of plan ahead, like 3, 4, 5 years ahead, but nothing more, because you don't know what's going to happen after that. But the biggest lesson, invest in yourself. Thanks to Max Stone, I was able to invest in myself. Like, you just need one person who opens up to the idea of investing in yourself. Recently, I got a client on myself. He never invested in himself. We had a call for 2.5 hours to help him help himself. And he made the shot. I even gave him a guarantee for like 2 weeks you can refund, because I knew I was going to give him value. And after this, like, he just sent me a message a few days ago, like, hey, bro, I invested into a new coach. And I'm like, hell yeah, because I was his first coach. Like, I changed his life forever by just having him invest in me. Because you need to invest in coaches, especially if you're into business or personal development. So yeah.
Yeah, man, like, it's just a shortcut to, like, there are no shortcuts to success, but it speeds up the process a lot. I think Hormozy also talks about you either pay with your time or you pay with your money. It's one of the two. And I found it myself as well. That's why I ask everyone the question. Investing into mentors has been the biggest thing that has changed my life. And exactly what you're saying, the first one is always the hardest, but after that, people are open to it way more, they invest way more, and they grow way more. I've had the same thing with a client that joined my coaching, and then I think at the time he paid like 2.6K or something, or 3K. I don't know what it was exactly. And for him at the time, he had to think about it. I think we even had a next call a half year later, and then he decided to join. And now he is joining he wants to join the new program that we have, which is more expensive than I was asking at the time. And now he didn't even flinch. He was like, oh yeah, that seems like a reasonable price. I know what I'm going to get out of it. And it was just like he's sold on it. And it's such a big difference, because once you see, hey, I'm putting this 3K into myself and you don't even have to get the money out of it. Like, sure, it's cool to get the money out of it, but you see how much you grow, and then it's like, this is worth 3K. Like, I can put it into a car or whatever, or I can actually grow as a person. And once you have that, then you're hooked into the whole personal development and investing into coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but everything is good can also be a trap, right? You can also invest all your money, you become broke. Like, I've had times where I maybe invested a little bit too much, you can say. I over-invested. So there's always a thin line between doing good and doing it too much. But yeah, absolutely get coaches. Even if you can't spend 3, 5, 10K for a coach, find somebody who can do it for 1K or something. Just the accountability aspect is also super big.
Yeah. Last question based on that. What would you say to the people listening on how to decide where to invest your money in what kind of coach? Because you said like, hey, I've also invested a bit too much, me myself as well in periods. What are things you can give them?
Yeah, I would say find somebody who you respect, who has what you have, and who you like, and then give him your money, right? Obviously, make a deal with him and be like, hey, help me get what you have, and he's gonna help you with that. I would also say watch out with people who don't have what you want and don't invest into them. There's a lot of coaches out there who say, hey, I sell this, but they don't have it themselves. So always do your due diligence, make sure you research it, like, does he have the results that I want? All right. Do I like him? All right. Do I respect him as a man or woman? All right. Let's do it.
Yeah. Perfect, man. That's a perfect one to end this podcast at. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you?
Yeah, so they can find me at Instagram, so Dave.van.vliet. They also can find me on YouTube at Cold Showers, or also Dave van Vliet. I'm mostly found out on Instagram these days. I shifted from Facebook to Instagram, so if they want to find me there, they can find me there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll link all of your information down below so people can get to know you and follow you. For now, Dave, I want to thank you for getting on the podcast. We learned a lot about your routines, how it's like living in Colombia, and I want to thank you for that. That's it for this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.